Today marks 2 years since Taliban fighters entered the capital of Afghanistan, Kabul, and the chaos surrounding President Biden's withdrawal is just epic. Let's take a look at the series of events that led up to one of the biggest disasters in American military history and one of the worst decisions ever. Remember, it was Donald Trump who signed a decision, the Doha Agreement, that said on a conditions base, we'll be out of that country by May 1st, 2021. He lost the election. President Biden overturns every one of the decisions that Donald Trump made. But this one, he says, oh, I got to stick with this. My hands are tied. So he sticks with this. He starts pulling troops out, but he was supposed to pull the troops out after the civilians got out. No one relayed that to him. When he realized how few troops are in there, his military advisor said, I advise you not to do it. But if you continue to do this, then I'm going to have to say that the only option is a total, complete pullout rapidly. So they leave the airbase, they leave military presence, and they leave people behind. You see Taliban taking over Kabul? When the Taliban did, they asked us before we went in, do you want us to take the Kabul, or do you want to go in first and get your people out? And we said we only want the airport. And guess who provided the security for the airport? The Taliban. Then the President Biden defends this chaotic withdrawal. And Admiral Kirby comes out and says something that's just inexcusable. From his perch, he didn't see chaos. Did you guys see the cargo jet? Did you see the explosion at Abbey Gate that killed 13, killed over 100 Afghans, and wounded dozens of Americans? I did. Did you see the way we weren't allowed to leave our bases, and the UK and other NATO allies who weren't even communicated with about our exit had to go get their people, and we were not allowed to leave our base? Some did anyway. And Save Our Allies is one of the many civilian groups that had to go into action. A lot of them cashed in their 401ks in order to help those who helped us so much over the last 20 years. Let's bring in Tim Kennedy, former Special Forces operator and co-founder of Save Our Allies. Tim, your thoughts 2 years later and statements from Admiral Kirby of, from my perch, I didn't see chaos, must really be tough to swallow.
Yeah, I mean, that hits deep. You know, that goes straight to the core. The things that we're seeing now, videos that are coming out from 82nd Airborne and Marine soldiers that were on the ground, those amazing uniformed men and women that were protecting everyone trying to get out, they're the real heroes of this whole entire story. But now we're starting to see these videos coming out, and it is so heartbreaking to see the anguish and the pain and the agony of what it really looked like on the ground. I mean, it was absolute chaos and mayhem.
So books written now about how we knew this terror attack was coming, and that maybe snipers had them in their sights. We're looking to confirm that. And they weren't given command to pull the trigger, and we know the results of that. How often do you think about Abbey Gate and how preventable that seems to have been?
Yeah, preventable's an odd word. On the ground there that night, the things that our men and women had to do to try and save people's lives is truly heroic. There's no preventable way when you look at how chaotic that whole entire situation was. But when you're hearing testimony about, man, I had this guy in my sights, I knew that this was going to be the bomber, the suicide bomber, and then seeing how many lives were lost unnecessarily. All of that could have been avoided with proper strategic approach for a withdrawal. And that is the thing that, looking back, looking at the AARs, the after action reviews for the Department of State, I mean, it was really embarrassing when they went back and said, we really didn't do anything wrong. Department of Defense could have done this. They were just kind of passing blame on who's responsible for what. Ultimately, we as a nation should have said, man, we messed up really bad strategically here. We have done this previously in history. We're never gonna do this again, but we still haven't done that. There's no ownership of responsibility. There's no leadership. But what there is still fallout. Veterans all over this amazing nation, their hearts are being torn out every single day, learning more and more and more, listening to Kirby stand up there and say, I didn't see anguish, I didn't see chaos, I didn't see agony. We saw people falling from planes. We saw women throwing babies over concertina wire. That's what we know happened. So it's so disingenuous and insulting to get up there and then insult all the men and women. 20 years at war we were in Afghanistan, 20 years. Americans went over there and fought and died. And then to go up there and to stand up there and insult all the sacrifices that were made for this country and for us to preserve our security in Afghanistan, it's so mean. I mean, it's heartless.
I read the Doha Agreement. It wasn't too complicated, about 6 pages, one of which was conditions-based. And if the Taliban were out front about to take Kabul because Ghani left and the army dissipated, we had the Taliban out of the woodwork, out of the woods, out of the sand, standing in Kabul. We could have taken them all out. Don't move until our people come out, if it actually came to that. And leaving Bagram Air Base, knowing that Pakistan, Russia, and China were right there, and we had a looking glass to them, and now we got nothing, and China's got the rare earth. After your 20 years and your colleagues' 20 years of sacrifice in that country, it is really hard to stomach. I don't think they've been held accountable, Tim. Final thought?
Yeah, it's a hard pill to swallow. Wanting to end positive is, there are so many amazing people trying to do so much, from Save Our Allies to the Independence Fund. The pain that was caused from Afghanistan is now just so much worse. It's just compounded. It's a festering wound until we address the issues of what happened, not just during the withdrawal, but after 20 years of failed policy there. The Doha Agreement was condition-based. If you do this, this, and this, we'll leave. They didn't do any of those things, so we didn't have to leave. There was no preponderance or onus on us to actually leave, and we definitely didn't have to give strategic land so then the Taliban could tell us where and when we could move. That was just insane.
It is. How many people do you think are left of our allies, people that we should be getting out? How many are left?
Thousands. I mean, we still have safe houses that we're trying to keep people in and out of. There are still thousands of special operations commandos that are trying to find ways out. It is dire. It is heartbreaking, and we have to do something. A
generation of women, especially, had a chance to read, write, and hold office, and have jobs and have businesses. They had a taste of the real world, and now they're back to the ancient world. Tim Kennedy, thanks. And Save Our Allies, if people want to help you out and finance it, where do we go?
Yeah, saveourallies.org. That's a full different story. All of the women that can no longer go to school, can't own businesses, it's back to Taliban rule.
Right. We're not going to forget. Thanks so much, Tim. Appreciate it.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.
Thank you.